In 1980, when Gladys Buchanan Eymann wrote down some of her memories, she described her marriage to Harold Eymann. They had first met in California through Gladys's cousin, David Barnwell. Then the friendship had blossomed during the 2 years they were doing graduate work in New York City. She wrote, "Harold and I were now serious about dating. We decided that if I went back to California after graduating and got a job, he could stay on another year and then we could get married. And it worked out that way. Since Harold could come out to California in early April, we decided to be married during my Easter vacation break. My cousin, Hazel Pinkham, who with her husband Roy had just moved into a large and beautiful home in Beverly Hills, insisted that we come and be married in their home. That suited me beautifully because with my teaching I was too busy to plan a wedding, and my mother was not equal to it. So on April 10th, 1927, at 4 o'clock, we were married there by Pastor Jackson, with about 100 friends and relatives to wish us well. Hazel had taken complete charge of the lovely reception. Roy had a movie camera, which in those days was a novelty, and took some pictures, which still are in pretty good condition. When we left the house amid the throwing of rice, the skies opened and hail fell on us too. A clipping from a Berea, Kentucky newspaper. The wedding of Nancy May Eymann, daughter of Reverend and Mrs. Harold Eymann, formerly of Berea, Kentucky, and Mr. Scott Edward Crom, took place at 11 a.m. on Thursday, September 8, at the Hartford Seminary Chapel at Hartford, Connecticut. The double ring ceremony was performed by the bride's father, Reverend H. H. Eymann, the pastor of Union Church, Berea, for the past 3 years. The chapel in which the ceremony took place was located on the Hartford Seminary campus. 2 vases of white gladioli flanked the altar of the chapel. Deep rose draperies formed the background. Maid of honor was the bride's sister, Miss Julia Eymann, who will be a junior this fall at Grinnell College, Grinnell, Iowa. Mr. Robert Noyce of Sandwich, Illinois, was the best man. A college classmate of the groom, he plans to do graduate study this year at Massachusetts Institute of Technology, Cambridge, Massachusetts. Mrs. Crom attended Berea College and was graduated from Grinnell College in 1949. This fall she will work towards her master's degree at Hartford Seminary. Mr. Crom is from Red Oak, Iowa, and will resume his work on his doctor's degree at the Graduate School of Yale University, New Haven, Connecticut. The couple will be at home at 55 Elizabeth Street, Hartford, after September the 20th. A clipping from the Ferndale Gazette. In a gown of ivory-colored Italian taffeta, a California girl became the bride of Thomas Edward Weeks of Ferndale at the Piedmont Community Church, Piedmont, California, on August the 28th. Julia Ann Eymann, daughter of the Reverend and Mrs. Harold Eymann of Piedmont, spoke her vows to her father, a minister at the community church. The bride's gown featured a bouffant skirt, tightly fitted bodice, and cathedral-pointed sleeves. Her finger-tipped ivory-colored illusion veil was held in place by a band of orange blossoms. She carried a crescent bouquet centered by beige-colored orchids. The groom, the son of Mr. and Mrs. G. Edward Weeks of 254 West Woodland, Ferndale, is a first lieutenant in the United States Air Force and wore his Air Force dress uniform for the ceremony. The church was decorated with 2 large bouquets of white gladioli centered with yellow gladiola. 2 7-branched candelabra were placed on each side of the chancel. Ellie Eymann was her sister's maid of honor. She wore a yellow taffeta dress and carried a crescent bouquet of deep yellow tuberous begonia with sprays of ivy. The groom's father, G. Edward Weeks, was best man. The couple planned to return to Dover, Delaware, where Lieutenant Weeks is stationed with the Air Force. Mrs. Weeks will continue her work as a speech therapist with the state of Delaware's Health Department until December. At that time, the couple plans to return to Detroit. A clipping from the Oakland Tribune. Dr. and Mrs. Harold H. Eymann of Piedmont made Ann Arbor, Michigan, the last stop on a round-the-world trip so that he could officiate at the marriage of their daughter Elsie to Anthony B. Meiderman of Grand Rapids. The ceremony, an evening affair, was held in the chapel of the University of Michigan, where both Ellie, as the bride is known, and Anthony received their degrees last month. There were 4 attendants on the bride. Her sister, Mrs. Scott Crom of Beloit, Wisconsin, as honor matron, and another sister, Mrs. Thomas Weeks of Ferndale, and 2 Ann Arbor classmates of Ellie's, Mrs. John Timmer and Miss Jacqueline Hoffman, as bridesmaids. All wore green background floral prints on polished cotton, the frocks complemented with tiny veiled hats and bunches of yellow daisies. Ellie's dress was of Italian silk taffeta in an ivory tone, made floor length and with long sleeves. Marking the waistline at the back were 3 fabric roses. Her veil was of ivory illusion, and it fell from a coronet of pearlized orange blossoms. Tufts of illusion were mixed with white daisies and ivy in the bridal bouquet. Everett Meiderman of Grand Rapids was his brother's best man, and John Timmer of Ann Arbor and Jack Vanderman of Grand Rapids seated the guests. Ellie and her husband are planning to live in Rockford, Michigan, where he has an engineering post.